Hi everybody, this is Team EMU, that's Joe Driver, Alexander Stolzvik, Andrew Lee, Young Shen, and Jay Jian, and we're going to be presenting a research project on web scraping. To give a quick overview, I'll be talking about Selenium, the background, the setup. Alex is going to talk about how we use Selenium to interact with a web page. Jay is going to talk about the alternative using Beautiful Soup. Young is going to talk about how we connect our scraper to Firebase and bring it back down into an Android Studio project. And Andrew is going to talk about our actual implementation and how we've used web scraping for our project. So to give you a quick background on Selenium, Selenium is an automated web driver, and it's a testing tool that's used pretty widely right now across industries. And it's also used not only for testing, but for web scraping. It's across browsers. You can use it for Chrome, Firefox, HTML unit, which I've never actually tried, but it's there, Internet Explorer, Safari, and it's built into a lot of different systems. The one that you can think of off the top of your head is Django. So it's very easy to use, it's integrated into a lot of systems, and it's widely accessible and well supported as well. So the advantages you get from it, well, it actually provides a visual display of what you're testing or what you're interacting with. So you can actually watch the test take place, watch your button clicks, your text interactions, anything like that. So it's very easy to follow. It's a great tool for mimicking user behavior, and it's easy to work with because it uses CSS and XPath to interact with the web page, which is something most developers can do. The disadvantages, and we'll talk about these, and you'll see this is why we've also used Beautiful Soup. Selenium needs to be configured separately for every browser, and it's different depending on which language you're working with, but it can be a pain when it comes to maintenance. It can be very brittle. If you're working with an actively developed website, changes to the website will break your tests, and so it requires a lot of maintenance there as well. And it can be slow, and that's a big issue for people who are scraping, because if you want to get a lot of information quickly, relying on a server to give you information in the form of a web page is much slower than maybe just hitting an API or just getting raw HTML. Alright, so now that we've covered the overview on Selenium, we're going to talk about how we get Selenium set up in the first place. We'll wrap up our slideshow here and pop over to the command line. Now, I apologize in advance, this section is going to be a little hard to read. It's the one portion that we can't really zoom in on. Selenium, through Python, is installed through a package manager called pip. Pip is very easy to use, and if we want to install Selenium, it's as simple as saying pip install Selenium. Now, we've already got Selenium in here, so pip is just going to turn around and say requirement already satisfied. Selenium's in, don't worry about it. We also want to check on our Selenium version, so pip freeze will do that for us. Pip freeze will show us a full list of all of our packages that are managed by pip and their version numbers. And we can see right here, alphabetized is Selenium 2.53.1. It's important to keep track of which Selenium version you're using because that actually has an effect on which browser version you're using. Certain versions, especially with Firefox of browsers, only work with certain versions of Selenium. So you need to make sure that you're synced up, otherwise things are going to fall apart later down. Now, let's dive into the code a little bit and show you how we'll spin up a browser. So we've done the imports for you already, and we'll show you the rest from there. Zoom it in so it's easy to read. Import Selenium, that makes sense. Import requests. That's for the API side of things if we're handing items back and forth from an API. So not part of Selenium at this point, but comes into play later on. The Selenium WebDriver support UI is Selenium utilities, things that help you with testing and with web scraping, things like waiting for a page to load, other things along those lines. Beautiful Soup is something we're going to talk about a little bit later, so I won't touch on it much right now. Firebase is our database that we're using and what we'll be pushing our information to. The WebDriver is the core Selenium tool. It's what's going to actually drive the browsers and interact with the web pages. And the keys down here are a set of constants that allow us to interact using a keyboard. So a key will actually be enter, escape, backspace. Anytime you want to use the keyboard, you will use this keys library. All right, so what are we going to do if we're just going to spin up a browser right out of scratch? Well, we don't actually need a lot. We need a WebDriver, and we need to tell it what kind of browser we want to use. So let's say WebDriver. And you know what? Just for good practice, let's do one of each. So we got Safari here, and we'll just grab driver is equal to WebDriver.Chrome, which it seems to have forgotten on the autocomplete. We'll get back to that later. And Firefox. And Internet Explorer. Now we don't have time to implement every single one of these for you guys, so we are just going to start with Chrome. So I'll comment out the other ones, but keep in mind that we do have support for every kind of driver we need. So Chrome is unique to Selenium in that it has a specific Chrome driver that you have to install separately, and you have to provide a path to. I just happen to have this path right here. If you take a look to the right, you see our file explorer, and at the very top we have, inside our research project 2, the Chrome driver. So we can just take our file path right from the file explorer and plug it right in here. Great. So now that we have the Chrome driver, we need to tell it what to do. Well, it's pretty straightforward. We want you to get us a web page. Driver.get. And let's try Google. They're pretty reliable, so hopefully we won't have any issues with the site being down. Alright. Looks pretty straightforward. We've got basically 2 lines of code and test is up and running. Now, if we want to run it, just need to make sure that we're in the right directory. Thankfully, we've already taken care of that. And we write Python demo.py. Hopefully everything works. WebDriver opened the web page and it hit Google. No problem. Now, one thing you might want to notice is that page stays open. So if you run this test over and over again, you're going to keep opening new pages. Just for a little bit of housekeeping, we'll do a driver.close. All right, I'll hand this off to Alex now, and he can talk a little bit about how we're actually using Selenium to scrape.
So now that we got Selenium set up and navigating to google.com, we can actually start navigating to the page that we want to scrape. So to start things off, we can just say driver maximize window, which is basically going to make it easier to see. It's going to make the window of Chrome full screen. Then we can print a couple of debug statements just to start this thing off. So beginning scraping. So this is basically just going to be a couple of debug statements. You're going to see those throughout. So the first thing we're going to do is, when we're at Google, we're going to go get the search field. So we're going to create a variable for it. Input search equals driver.findElement by ID. Now this is one of the main ways in Selenium that you can go to a website and find a certain element. So by ID basically says go to the website, go look at the HTML, and return the element with an ID that matches this. Now in Google, that is lst-ib for the search field. To figure out what the actual ID is for an element that you want to get, you can go to the website itself. You can right click and you can say inspect element. Now we can tell Selenium to send a couple of keys or a string to this input field. So we're going to say 538, which is basically the website that we're going to be scraping, and we can tell Selenium to press enter once it has inputted that string. Now this is going to go to Google, it's going to input 538 into the search field, and it's going to press enter. Because Google sometimes take a little while to respond, we're going to have to add a wait here to make sure it's finished. So we're going to tell it to wait for 10 seconds before progressing, and at that point we want to get the search elements or the search results. So we're going to say wait until lambda driver dot find element by tag name. Now this is going to get all the search results in Google. Now we want to get the top one, which is basically going to be the link to the website that we want to scrape. So find element by tag name A. So this is the anchor or the link to 538. And now we can easily say just 538 link dot click, which tells Selenium to click the link leading to 538. Now, before we progress, it could be useful to see what we're actually scraping. So this is the 538 website. We're going to go ahead and get all these latest articles here. And we're going to go ahead and press the first one, get its content, and print that to the terminal. So the first thing we're going to have to do is that we're going to have to get a list over the latest articles. So you can just say driver dot find element by CSS selector dot widget, which is basically the class dot widget every data. And then we can find all the titles for all these articles. So find element by tag name, h3, which is the header, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create a list of all the URLs leading to all these articles. So list of links, just an empty array, and then for each item in the items latest, we want to go ahead and append the URL to the list of links. So list of links dot append item dot find element by tag name A, which is the anchor or the link, and get ut href. So this is basically the actual URL leading to all the articles. Now this is going to be used later, but for now we're simply going to go ahead and manually go to the first article and print its content. So you can say first article is the first item latest, basically the first element in that list. We're going to go ahead and find by tag name, find the link and click that. So this is going to get the link, and again, like we did before, we can just click that. So now we're actually on the page that we want to scrape. Now we're going to have to go ahead and get the text, the title, and the author of this. So we're first going to go ahead and get the wrapper around this entire article. So driver get element by tag name. So this is article, basically just a wrapper around the entire article. We're going to get the author, so driver dot find element by CSS selector dot single dot data dot single by line b card, and then find element by tag name A, and then text. So this is basically just going to go ahead and find the name of the author. We want to get the title of the article. So again, in similar fashion, we're going to say driver find element by tag name h1. Jumped around here. h1 dot text, and then we can go ahead and get the actual article content. So driver.find element by CSS selector entry content single post content, and get the text that is within this. So post article content dot find elements by tag name. So this is essentially going to return a list over all the paragraphs that make up our document. So now we just got to put this into one coherent string. So we're going to iterate through every paragraph in our article text, and we're going to add that to our article body. So article body plus equals string paragraph.text. Now, because of the way this is set up, we actually have to encode it in ASCII, ignore, and then decode it again after. And this is to handle any special characters that might pop up. So now that we actually have the author, the title, and the body of the article, we can go ahead and print this to the terminal and see what we get. So go title, title, print a new line, print the article author, new line, and then finally print the actual content itself. So print article body, and then finally print a new line. Now at the end, to make sure that Selenium doesn't close on us before we get the chance to see what happens, we're going to go ahead and uncomment this close. And then we can simply open up our command line here and run the scraper. As you can see, this opens up Chrome, goes full screen, types in 538, goes to the website, presses the link of the first article, and then we can, if you go back to the command line, we can now see that the title is set out here, Our Computers Raining the Beauty Out of Chess, the author, Oliver Roeder, and the actual content of the article itself, which is all of this. So we can see that it worked. So now we're going to hand this over to Jay, who's going to look at how we can use Beautiful Soup to do this in a more efficient way.
Hello everyone. In this part, I will show how to use Beautiful Soup package to do some basic web scraping. Beautiful Soup is a Python package for parsing HTML and XML documents. It creates a parse tree for parsed pages that can be used to extract data from HTML, which is useful for web scraping. And my code starts from here. The previous code is written by Alexander. First, we write a loop to get link one by one from list of links, which containing URLs of every article under the latest divisions on the homepage of 538.com. It's some kind of like this. We will scrape all the articles and grab the information about the articles from this list, which is the latest list on the 538.com. Okay. First, we grab URL from list created before we sell them. After that, we create a Beautiful Soup object and request the URL of the article and put it into the Beautiful Soup. First, we build the Beautiful Soup object and put the URL we have into the Beautiful Soup. After that, we use several methods provided by Beautiful Soup package to grab the data we needed. First, we find the article and we use the H1 tag to find the article title. After that, we want to find the article author. However, sometimes there is a missing data on websites. There is no article author of the article. So we create a try except block to handle this. We try to use the attributes to find the article author. If we find it, we get it. If we don't find it, we get an NA. After that, we use the attributes of the article to find the article div. We use the p tag to find all the article paragraphs, and we build a string type object to hold the data. We append the script data to it, and finally we print it out in the terminal. Now let's run this code and show see how this works. Okay, this is the previous. Let me clear it, and we run this web script Python. It's open to Google, enter the 538 and go to the 538.com. Once we get here, it starts scraping. It scripts the latest. This is the data we scripted by the code. The first article is demographic, and the second is Viking Lions. Yeah, the Viking Lions. So we retrieved all the data for the latest div about all the articles, and we put it into the terminal, print it out. And the next part, Yang will show you how to make this data into JSON file and put it into Firebase database.
Hi, here is Yang. Now we have all the data we need. We just need to put it to the Firebase. It's linked to our database. We can get the link here, and also we can see our database is empty now. We post the key value pairs to the database, and it will be under the articles repository. We run it in the terminal. And we can see it opens the Chrome and opens the website. We will web scrape. It will take a few minutes. Then we have got all the data we need, and they have been posted to the Firebase. Next, I'll show you how to get the data from Firebase within our Android application. It's a simple application, and first we need these dependencies, and we need to apply plugin in the Google services. Also, we need to get access to the internet. For the layout, it's very simple. Test view, it will show how many records there are in our database now. And the list view, it will show all the authors of the articles. It's the main activity. We have get reference to the database, and also we need article ref to get reference to the chart articles. Then we will add venue event listener to get all the changes of the data. The data snapshot will get all the data from the database. Since there are many records, so we need a for loop to get all the records. Snapshot, and then data snapshot get children. We need to use these to get all the key values pairs from the database. We don't need these functions. And we define a map to get the data. Just call it map. And we can get the venue from it. Get venue function along with the generic type indicator will return the properly typed generic collection. We use a string to get the author. Since we will list all the authors in the list view, we will need an array list. String. Also, we will need an array adapter. Base Android we add each author to the list. And set the adapter. Don't forget to show the number of the records in our database. Set test. There are get children count. It's the records in our database. Records in the database. For the uncancelled, we log the error. The read failed and get message. Here we go. It may take some time. And you can see that it says there are 8 records in the database. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's right. And here are the authors. It matches right. So to show it is a real-time database, we can run the web scraping again. and you can see the changes in the database and in our app. So it's real-time database and we can get the data very easily. Next, Andrew will tell you how we will use web scraping to our final project.
Alright guys, so now that we've learned the basics of using Selenium and Beautiful Soup to scrape the web, I'm going to show you guys what we did for our final project using web scraping. So here are a bunch of import statements, kind of the same as before. There's some extra ones that kind of help for debugging. This one also kind of helps with saving dictionaries, and then a bunch of other things from Selenium that I'll get to. So the information that we want for our final project is all the classes at BU and their teachers, their classrooms, and their office hours, and a bunch of other information. So we first start off by just following this link right here, which takes us to right here. And it's going to hit this button. It's going to go add, and then it's going to go to this page. And then it's going to try to grab all the information from these pages. So let me start the scraper real quick. So you notice that it asked me for a username. So that's what this little bit of code up here does. So because it's Kerberos, you need to authenticate yourself and you need to log in if you want to view the information. So here we go. Alright, cool. So now it's going to automatically navigate to the page that we want. Now this is kind of like the last page before everything starts kind of rolling. What we have right here is the form like before. So we have CAS, department, or whatever, so you can search for a specific class. But since we're interested in the entirety of CAS for this specific example, we just want CAS. So we go here, and we're interested in the information on this page, the instructor, day, the time, course, title, description, and all that information. So what this web scraper does is it navigates to this page using Selenium, grabs the href right here, so the URL of this, puts it in a Beautiful Soup, grabs the relevant information, and then just works down this list. And then as soon as this entire list has been scraped, Selenium will just hit the continue search from. And the way that we find out when to stop is at the very end of these registration pages, a little JavaScript alert will pop up, and it'll say, hey, like there are no more classes, or this is the end of CAS. So that's what this WebDriver wait and try accept block does. So I'm gonna just set off our scraper right now, and you can see that as it scrapes the information, it'll just print it out just so we know that it's grabbing the right information. And so this is going to run for a while because there's, I believe, over 1,300 classes in CS. I'm not sure. We'll actually have the real number printed out. So as soon as the scraper is done, I'll cut back, or whatever the right way to say that is. Alright guys, so you can see that the scraper is finished running now. So we have all the classes up to XL. I'm not sure what department that is, but so you can see here that we scraped 1,567 classes. We were logged out once, so after a while, after I guess so many clicks, Kerberos will log you out. So I actually wrote a try accept to see if it logged me out and logged me right back in. The time elapsed was 3,730 seconds, so I think that's a little bit more than an hour. So you can see here that I saved all the data in a JSON file right here that you can probably see right here. Yep, JSON file, classes.json. And you can also see here that I inserted it to our Firebase database, which you can see right here. So all the classes should be here. It's got a funky ID name because I didn't specify it, I guess. So I guess when I put it into the actual database for our project, I'll clean that up. But yeah, so that's web scraping.